Okay, so this is day 2 on Mishlei 14:10. We'll review what we did yesterday and then look for chidushim. Leiv yodea maras nafsho u'v'simchas lo yis'arav zar. The heart knows its own bitterness, and no stranger can share in its joy. Okay, or in its happiness, no stranger can mingle. Our questions were: what is the leiv in this context? Feelings, mind, or something in between? How does the heart know its own bitterness? What is bitterness or its bitterness? What is the heart's happiness? If nafsho doesn't mean its own, so then what would nefesh mean here? Okay, which again, I reserve the right to say that, I don't think that that's shot, but maybe there's a different thing alluding to that there. Who or what is this zar? And why is the term zar used as opposed to other terms for strangers like nachri or acher? 7, what does yis'arav mean in this context? To mingle, to mix. What is the havamina? What are the two opposites? Or sorry, where are the opposites, or what are the opposites? And then how do the two halves relate to each other? So in other words, are you supposed to read it as, I think I wrote it here, yeah, as the heart knows its own bitterness and joy, and no stranger can mingle in either? Or are you supposed to read it in a much more complicated way? The heart knows its own bitterness, but doesn't know its joy, and a stranger doesn't mingle in its happiness, but does mingle in its bitterness. And then who is the audience? What is the subject? What is the practical application? And like, where are the decisions here? And then if this is connected to the prior pasukim, then what's the connection? Okay, so we had several approaches. So my idea was that this is talking about how you cannot perceive other people's feelings. You can only interpret other people's feelings based on your past experiences and your knowledge of yourself. So if you mistakenly treat your interpretation as perception, then you will be blind to the fact that you might be misinterpreting, right? Because you can't, the kind of premise of what I'm saying is, unless you are like, I don't know, unless you have bad vision or you're hallucinating, you don't misperceive, like you don't missee things, like you don't see something that's not there, But if you realize that this is an interpretation, then like we're aware of the fact that there could be like false avenues and false interpretations. So that is in terms of when you are trying to relate to other people. And then the other category is not expecting others to be able to accurately see your emotional state. You have to realize that they might misinterpret it. And you also have to take steps to make it clear to the other person what you're feeling, and take into account as much as you can, like, their experiences, and try to relate this to them. Sean's interpretation was that it's talking about how people think that they can, the havamina is that a zar can do these things, but the kamash malan, you can't be a zar and relate to another person's experience. You need to like find ways to foster that connection and identification, and get a sense of their experience in order to have that. Yeah, okay. And then we had some other approaches that we didn't develop. Okay, so Isaac gave a shot yesterday, a voice message that I thought was really good. So there is a category of Mishlei pasuk that he states something false. Okay, he's articulating what the fool thinks, right? So the examples of this, hold on just a second here. I mean, I know my favorite examples, but let's see. One of them is in 25. I think this is the first time I discovered this idea. Hago siki mikasa v'yitzeh l'tzorav keli. Hago rasha lifnei melech v'yikon b'tzedek kiso. So remove dross from silver, and a vessel will emerge for the refiner. Remove a rasha from before a king, and his throne will be established forever. Okay. So my pshat of that is if you obviously these two pasukim are meant to be read together. So my pshat of that is that you're supposed to read this first one, remove dross, that's the impurities from silver, and a vessel will emerge for the refiner. That's just not true, right? Removing dross is the first stage, and then you can engage in silver craft to make a kli. But you don't just like, the way you remove dross is you melt it down in a crucible and like you extract the dross. It's not like you do that and suddenly like a menorah pops out, So why does he have to tell us this? Because people do think that Hago Rasha Lifnei Melech V'Yikon B'Tzedek Kiso, that if you just get rid of the bad guys, then the Malchus will flourish. Okay, and that's just not true. I remember when I first got into, before I got into teaching, I asked Rabbi Fox, who seemingly, in my experience with him, never had any like like behavior or classroom management issues in his class. And so I said, like, I think I asked this while I was in high school. I said, like, how do you keep your students on task? And he says, the first thing to do is make sure that there is a task that is worth being on, So like, I realized I had this like naive notion that like, if you just remove the bad from the class, then that's going to make a function in class. But no, you have to have like the sur meira ve'aseh tov are two separate steps, So that's one example. Another example is one that we did in let's see, Kiryat.
This pasuk was mentioned that people talk about learning.
Yeah.
The direction starts this.
Yeah.
You just gotta like remove the bad news, or it doesn't like require anything other than just like getting bad news out of there, and then something like ideal.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's not true. And the thing is like you could make the other mistake, which is to think that you can only that if you just engage in the good stuff, the good processes, but you don't do the sur meira part, then that'll also be good. But that's a losing gamble as well.
Cut out the cancer.
Yeah. Right. Cutting out the cancer doesn't make you healthy. It just removes the cancer. It's not like you suddenly become fit. Okay, hold on a second here. I'm just going to give one more example, then I'll go to Isaac's idea. Just waiting. What was that?
Then work out.
Yeah, then work out. Yeah. Okay. Hon ashir kiryas uzo michitas dalim resham. Okay, so the wealth of a rich person is his fortress of strength. This is in Mishlei 10:15. And the poverty of the poor is their destruction. Okay, so I think this one is actually said by one of the Mefarshim. Okay, this is a Monday night here. I'm impressed if I can remember this, because this was from year one. I want to say it's Ibn Kaspi. I might not be remembering this. Okay, no. All right, fine. So the way we learned is someone says this outright is that's false. Wealth does not protect you, right? So this is describing the mentality of the wealthy person. Is he thinks that his wealth is going to be this fortress that protects him from everything, but it's really not. And likewise, people are afraid that poverty is going to destroy them. That's also not true. Like, wealth obviously provides certain advantages, and poverty provides, creates disadvantages. But that's not true. So in the vein of that, Isaac was saying that this is a false idea, okay? That the heart knows its own bitterness and no stranger can share in its joy, that people think that they know their own emotions, okay? I forgot how Isaac explained the second half, but for the first part, people think that if I am feeling something, then if I were feeling something, I would know about it. And if I were not feeling it, then if I don't know about it, then I'm not feeling it, and essentially this is or they think that they understand their feelings, but this is just a denial of the complexity and depth of the psyche, that really there are many, many, many feelings that you're not aware of. And Isaac actually presented this idea thinking that it was not true. He said, I have a false interpretation of the pasuk. And then I said, no, I think this is a true interpretation. And I gave as a raya, again, I don't want to presume what people in yeshiva know and don't know, but I would guess that on the one hand, people in yeshiva absorb a lot of Freudian psychology from just the air, from listening to shiurim. But I think people are aware that Freud pioneered the study of the unconscious. What I don't know if people know is the history of Freudian psychology, that people challenged the idea of there being unconscious feelings. Freud had to fight to show that there is such a thing as having unconscious feelings. And the way people said it is unconscious feeling is a stira. It's a contradiction in terms. It's an oxymoron, okay? Because they said if it's a feeling, then you feel it. And so there cannot be any such thing as unconscious feelings or wishes. Wish means you wish it. So he actually, if you look at the earlier writings, I think this is in the introductory lectures, he has to before he even you can imagine good luck making an argument about how unconscious wishes are the source of dreams or slips or neuroses. He first has to establish that there is an idea of the unconscious, of something that is withheld from conscious experience. So I think that this pasuk is challenging that that idea. It's speaking to someone who has that havamina and saying, no, you don't know your own feelings. There's a lot of feelings that you don't know, and you actually need to like dig into the depths to get those.
Back in the days of King Solomon,
Yeah.
Did they have an idea of like Freud in the subconscious, or like it wasn't as prevalent as
So first of all, I'm going to just correct another thing. This is a pet peeve of mine. So people use subconscious and unconscious as synonyms. To my knowledge, Freud never used the word subconscious. Okay, there were three things. There's the conscious, the preconscious, and the unconscious. Okay, the subconscious is. I think subconscious is a little sloppy thinking. I'll give you an example of this. Okay, if I say, we'll do an experiment. I'm just gonna do this as an experiment on Ariel. Hey Ariel,
Yeah.
you remember the Purim that you spent in the Pesach you spent in yeshiva during COVID, where you were alone?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Okay, right. But here's the thing: you weren't thinking about it before I said it, right? So it was in your mind, but it was not in your conscious mind. But you were able to summon it up as soon as I said it. So that's what Freud calls preconscious. And I do think that when people talk about the unconscious, people who don't know or haven't experienced psychoanalysis think that the unconscious is kind of like that. Like there's like feelings that you have there, and they're just buried a little deeper. And you got to like dig them up, you know. But what Freud's concept of the unconscious was like the psyche is barring you from seeing these at all, and so like there are like forces that are preventing you from even seeing them, and in order to like see or experience or understand them, you need to like find ways to like, you know, get at them through association or through like, you know, so it's a more nuanced concept. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The King Solomon and back then know the idea of
the unconscious, right? So it certainly was not a developed psychology. Okay. But there are definitely like they were aware of the phenomena many of the phenomena which we now identify as the unconscious. So two examples that come to mind is Amnon rapes Tamar and then he hates her. Right. So like that clearly is stemming from a, I don't know what Freudian defense mechanism you want to say, a reaction formation, whatever, to that. Or let's say what we did recently is the kol hamumo, kol haposel b'mumo huposel. If you plant blemishes in others and that's a result of your own thing, or let's say like if you accuse someone of, if you spread rumors that someone is an eved, then we suspect you're yichus, that you're really an eved, that you're trying to cover. So like there's a lot of examples of like, things like that.
Rabbi gave, I listened to a shiur from Rabbi about, where you go to war and you sleep with the woman in war.
Right.
And then you complicate her.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then, again, this is one of the big contributions, not that I'm going to like quantify the contributions that Rebbe has made to the world of Torah, but like really extracting and articulating the psychological insights that Chazal and the Rishonim had, and the Torah has, but doing so using the language and the concepts of Freudian psychology. So it's in there, but it's not explicit.
Right. So just one follow-up question. So in the era of Freud with his contemporaries, where they were vehemently against this idea. Yeah. I guess my question is like back then, like in the times of Shlomo or in the Gemara, like were they vehemently against that idea, or they were like I guess open to it?
I don't think we have a way of knowing. Yeah, I don't think we have a way of knowing. So that's why like my only reservation about Isaac's idea is like how much are we projecting Freudian psychology into this? But I think it's a good idea though, and I don't remember what Isaac said. No stranger can share in its joy. Yeah.
Yeah. What I said was that I think the first part is about like what the person is feeling. Yeah. And the second part is about the causes of it. The thing and I think the mistake is that a person thinks that, let's say he's feeling angry. It's like, oh yeah, I'm just feeling angry because of the thing that the person did to me, and is now aware of the foreign elements, that, are coming from him.
So zar refers to what exactly?
I'd say a foreign element in like the cause of his feeling.
Okay, so in other words, an aspect of your psyche that is stranger to you. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. All right. That's good. All right. I like that shot. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have any thing here before we go to the Mefarshim? Okay. So I did not have a chance to prepare this, but what was that?
I'm looking forward for it.
Oh, Isaac's. Oh, yes. Thank you. So Isaac's shot is that that this is stating a false belief that many people have. I know all of my own emotions because I feel them, and if I didn't have a if I don't experience a feeling, then I must not be having it. All right, Kamash Malan, the unconscious. Okay, i.e., there are zar feelings, elements of your psyche, which do mingle into your conscious emotions and behavior. Like this. Yes. Okay. Okay. So I did not get a chance to prepare this due to a incompetent worker that caused a half an hour delay. But let's look at the Metzudas David. Lev Yodea, Libo Adam, Hu Yodea Umargish Bimrirus Nafsho Ba'amal HaTorah. Okay, so he's taking this out of the realm of pure emotions. So the heart of a man knows and feels the bitterness of his soul in the toil of Torah. Ve'ein zulaso margish b'tsaro shel zeh. Wow, that's interesting. And no other person senses this guy's pain. Wow. Okay, this speaks very well to me. Okay, lakach b'simchaso be'es kibul hasachar. For this reason, in his joy, okay, which means at the time when he receives reward, lo yis'arav zar lachalokbo, no stranger will mix in to divide it with him. I don't know if it means to divide it or to challenge him. So to divide it with him. Mishalim. Yeah, so in other words, he's going to get full reward. Okay, what is this saying? Saying no one knows your struggles in Torah. Okay, and what do you call it? And therefore, when you receive the reward, then no one's going to share it with you.
I would guess is the Meiri's darkness.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm curious to see what his darkness is. Yeah. Yeah.
I also understand what it has to do, at least the second half, why you need the first half not to be true. I think whether or not people know.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Stop and you get your reward for doing what you did.
Yeah, I would think so as well. Yeah, that's a good point.
So he's saying that nobody will know your struggles in learning. So when they get the reward.
No, so when you get the reward, no one's going to share it with you.
What does that mean?
That's exactly the point, right?
Like when I get the reward, no one's going to share my reward with me. Is that what it means?
No. Well, okay, I have struggles in learning, right? And because of that, when I get rewarded for Torah, because I have my own struggles, no one's going to share my reward.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
right.
Okay.
And like what David's saying is like, it doesn't no one share your reward in general? Like, isn't that one of the ikarim, right? Yeah. That the 11th ikar, that each person gets rewarded for their own mitzvos and punished for their own veros. Yeah, something.
Yeah, like if you do share in your toils,
yeah,
like you express like how difficult it is, and
yeah,
it helps you. Not like they also get part of your.
Yeah, right. And it's not that diminishes your reward.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe we could say that when it comes to learning, if meaning like you're limited in what you're able to achieve with your own mind. So if you don't share your struggles, then the ultimate reward is progressing the idea as fast as you can. You do that with other people, and if you share with people, like the scar that you'll get from the grander idea that's out there, it'll be shared with you'll have it, but you also share with other people. Because you're sharing that knowledge, you're having that interaction.
Wait, sorry, I think I started off on the wrong foot when I was listening. Are you
Torah,
no, are you explaining the idea or are you challenging
explaining the idea.
Okay, so say it one more time.
I mean, if I understand it correctly,
yeah,
nobody understands the struggle that I have in my learning.
Right.
Therefore, the reward that I get, I will not share with people.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's what he's saying.
So
yeah.
what does that mean? Right.
Yeah.
So I think it means that if you as an individual are limited with one mind, you're limited on how far you can go with that idea.
Right. Okay.
All right. And through the quality of learning or through the quantity of the minds or whatever. So, but if you share it with people, if you share the struggle, then you can develop that idea at a much larger scale or quality.
Okay. So you're saying when you say struggle, you're talking about like the activity of like toiling in Torah, not the feeling of struggle.
No. Yeah. Well,
I mean, you're saying like if you work on an idea with someone, then that'll like allow you to accomplish more.
I think it leads to the feeling. The toil will lead to the meaning. If you don't, if you can only toil as so far as you can on your own,
right? Which
will lead to a certain feeling. But if you toil with other people, it'll lead to a different feeling.
Right. Yeah. So that's interesting. So you're putting a positive spin on this, which is not how I was reading it, right? Like I was reading it as ki levado yikabel schar mishalim, meaning that like you get all the reward and you don't have to divide it with people, right? So like it sounds like dividing the reward is bad. That was what I was assuming. Ariel is saying that there's a certain limitation to how far one person can go in Torah, but if you collaborate and you work on Torah with other people, you can go even further. And you share the reward with them because you produce. I mean, you produce more ideas, and that's like a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the idea,
that's why I was confused when I was listening to it.
I thought it was,
because it sounds like the Metzudas David is saying that like getting lone reward is better than sharing the reward. Ariel's saying that getting shared reward is better than getting lone reward. So that's why I like your idea.
I thought he was explaining it. I thought he was just saying some facts.
Yeah. The other thing the other misgiving I have about your idea, again, this is not. I don't think it's a major problem, but it is a misgiving. When you're taking Amal B'Torah as the activity of learning Torah, and he seems to be focusing on the bitterness of the activity, like the emotional pain you get from struggling and sharing that emotional pain. That's why I'm not sure if what you're saying lines up exactly with what he's saying.
Explain that? Can you say that one more time?
That second objection?
Yeah, that.
Libo shel adam hu yodeh umargish b'merirus nafsho b'alma Torah. The heart of a man is the one that knows and feels the bitterness of his soul when involving himself in Torah. V'ein zulasu margish b'tza'aro shel zeh. No other person knows the pain he feels. So that's why I think, so he's focusing on the emotional experience. You're focusing on the activity of learning itself. So I now do have a problem. Okay, yeah.
Hold on, but just chronologically,
yeah.
When you are active when you're active in learning, or whatever it is, the pain comes through the struggle of the activity.
Correct. But he seems to be treating the pain as the subject here. And he's saying because no one knows the pain, then only you get the reward. What you're saying is because no one is involved in the process, which happens to have pain, then you're gonna, then your reward's not gonna be as great. His idea centers on the sharing of the I wouldn't even say the sharing of the feeling, the fact that no one else knows what your pain is,
Okay, hold on. Maybe let me rephrase it. Meaning, the activity is just one part, but the feeling of the outcome of the learning, that you have a great idea, the great svara, and you feel good about it, that can be shared. Like I've experienced that with my producer.
But that's the funny thing, though, is he's saying the emphasis here is that it can't be shared. He's making
like a statement, like this cannot be shared at all.
That's what the Mishlei is making a statement. Yeah. And so your idea is a good idea. I just don't think it fits the Metzudas David. Yeah, Isaac.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that it's about the struggle to be involved in learning, and I think each person has their own struggles about it.
Okay.
And I think it's a kind of like a it's hard and painful, and each person struggles. But what it's saying is that since you're struggling alone, then like what you accomplish is entirely can be entirely credited to you. like I don't exactly know what the scar is.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to develop that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Go ahead.
So and then also in the second half that like even if you're collaborating, even if you're learning with someone else, at the time of learning, everyone has a different like feeling of like what the struggle is. So even if you're like getting like the grander scar because you got found like the grand idea, that I was saying, because you worked with someone else, you at that time of learning, either maybe one of them was struggling to like get out of bed and learn, maybe one of them like with the idea just couldn't wrap their head around it at first. Either way, like they each had like their own struggle that like they swallowed and like still like made it through.
That's good. You want to add to this?
Yeah. I think and with all that, and I think this is directed like the direction of this is towards someone who's just looking for like I can get 100% reward from something, and this is particularly you can get 100% reward from something if you're looking for all that.
Okay, that's a good audience thing. Yeah, just to echo what people are saying. So this is not talking about. There's two rewards you get from learning. Only two. No, there's two rewards. There's the reward you get from the knowledge, but then there's the reward you get from the relationship to the activity of learning. Okay, and a certain perfection that you get from what you do in order to like overcome the resistances to learning and making your schedule work in order to like learn and balancing your life, your work-life balance, or like not giving up when you think you're, all of the perfections, like it's a whole category of perfections that come that are not from the idea, the ideas you gain themselves. Those struggles, so like we were saying, the ideas can be shared, like you're saying, the ideas can be shared and everyone can benefit from that. But the unique pain and struggle that you have from these other things, the schar halicha, like making the effort to like go to the base midrash, like that itself is, those rewards are uniquely your own. Now, David's giving a theory as to who the audience is and why we need to hear this, which is that it's for someone who's looking for 100% reward. And I get that from the lashon of the Metzudas David. I just want to think about the question fresh about like, what is the practical application of this idea? And then who's the audience? Yeah.
Just one more time in terms of why it's better to keep the struggle. Keep the scar on your own. Well, why is that beneficial?
I'm not saying it's beneficial in the sense that like the way that you were learning the pasuk. Yeah. It's like you could take it or you could learn alone or you could learn with someone else. Like it's an option, it's a choice, and you're evaluating it as cost benefit analysis. But what we're saying now here is that this is going to be a schar that automatically comes to you alone because of your unique circumstances and relationship to Torah. So it's not like you have a choice of whether to share it or not. It's that that there's something that's uniquely yours. I'm just going to throw this out there. Is I think that there are many times when a person feels dejected by the struggles that they're going through in order to be involved in learning, and they can allow that to deter them from the activity of learning itself. But what this is telling you is there are perfections you get from that struggle itself that are their own source of reward that are uniquely yours, and that itself can spur a person to like put in the renewed effort to learn. Yeah.
Is that to say you shouldn't seek out guidance for your struggle?
No, I think that you definitely should, and you get reward for that as well. I think that's part of the reward. I was actually when at some point when we were developing this idea, I was thinking like this does not seem to be a very like healthy just struggle on your own. And I do think that there are people who are prone to masochistic, ascetic, Spartan, like let's say like the Pirkei Avos thing of Paspa Melech Tochal, people. There are people who are like, like I want to live that. I don't think that, and I think that those people are psychologically prone to not seeking advice and help. There are a lot of reasons why a person doesn't seek advice and help in these areas. But I do think that let's say like overcoming your resistance to seek advice from a chacham, that itself is a source of reward. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Torah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's the conflict that you get from the Torah, but like you get the reward for that as well. Yeah.
I love this thing. It's called the saying is the breakfast for champions is feedback. It's like feedback. Oh, feedback is the breakfast for champions. There you go.
That's That's like I know that's not where it comes from. That's like if you ask like ChatGPT to spit out slogans, like that's the type of like low effort like slogan. You know, I believe you that it's a real thing. I just don't think it's a very good slogan. Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, the idea is good. I don't think it's a very good slogan. Yeah, it's like a guy who's like grasping for like if you have to piggyback on another idiom, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So this is a good idea. I like this. All right. So let's look at the Meiri and see what he says. The Meiri does not start on the page where there's the Dibur Moscow. So he says, He'ara, I think. He'ara Lenirdaf, I think it's the beginning. Yeah. He'ara Lenirdaf Bitsaros Hazman. Wow. So this is an insight or a lesson for someone who is persecuted or pursued by the temporal tsaros. Okay, meaning like bad stuff that happens, misfortunes. Sheyeda lahachin letalaos lev chazek or lev chazak lahalim tsarosav, that he knows to prepare for misfortunes a strong heart in order to conceal his misfortunes. I don't know if lahalim literally means to conceal. I don't know if that means to conceal or to like prepare, to like diminish. He is to conceal. V'lo yodia tsar l'rabim, and he should not make known his tsar to the many. Okay, so in other words, like this: if you are as I think like Yiddish speaking people from the older generation say, like a nebuch, right? Like someone who's like bad stuff is always happening to him, you know, right? So he's saying you should prepare a strong heart. I don't know what that means, and conceal your tsaros by not like broadcasting them. Okay. V'chein behefech. So to the opposite. Berov hono uma'aracho. If you have a lot of wealth, and I've never seen ma'aracho used as a synonym for wealth, but that's what it seems to be, like value, right? Ki ya'ashir v'chiyakum chelo. That must be a pasuk in. I'm gonna randomly guess Yeshayahu, even though I don't know. No. Yov? Okay, all right. That actually would have been my second guess because there's so many like things about like wealth and misfortune. Lo yisrae b'zeh yosem midah. You shouldn't show it off excessively. Aval yase inyano b'chashai u'v'tznius v'shlo b'hamaya yasera. You should go about your affairs in secret and with modesty, and not with the whole tumult, like not with the whole like hamaya is like yelling. Okay, right. The Al Harishona Amar, on the first case, it says Lev Yodea Maras Nafsho. Ratzalomar Shemichok Bal Musar, that it is one of the principles of a Bal Musar, Shalibo Levad Yodea Mariras Nafsho, that only his heart alone knows the bitterness of his soul. Umishtadol Lahalimo Kol Ochiyuchal, and that he should strive to conceal it as much as possible. Shalo Yashuv Nikle Be'enehem. Why? So that he doesn't become viewed as okay, Nikla is always hard to translate. I mean, like comes the word kal. Nikla is like not a lightweight, and not a pushover. I mean, I know it's used in all these ways. I'm saying it in different contexts. I'm trying to think what the best thing is here. Nikla, a contemptible base person. It doesn't mean contemptible in a sense of like moral qualities, but like someone who's just like, ugh, this guy, you know, like yeah, was it
lowly?
Lowly, yeah, right. So in other words, if you are always talking about your tsuris, right? So then people are just going to look at you as like some loser, you know, right? Like it's just gonna like, okay, this guy's always complaining about his sorrows, and like, yeah, he's a loser. He's just, you know, what? Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. The Al Hashnia Amar, hold on a second. There's I don't have anyone in my current high school who's like this, but in my past history, then there were definitely people who, you know, when you first get a student, you don't really know like what their personality is. So like you err more on the side of taking them at their word. But then there's certain students who we at a certain point realize, oh, this person has like a persecution complex or a victim complex. And so everything that happens to them is just like a horrible tragedy, you know, and then you moderate your, you know, and what happens is like that ends up being something, you know, it reminds me of the pasuk about complaining, right? That, you know, the words of a complainer are like blows and they descend to your innermost depths. I should say the pasukim about complaining, because that pasuk is twice, that the person amplifies their own pain by complaining. But what this is saying is by complaining publicly, you amplify that perception of yourself. You cement that perception of yourself as an unfortunate person, and it's like a vicious cycle. Yeah, David.
I have two different thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's one you were mentioning like.
Oh, actually, sorry. Let's just actually finish reading the second side. V'ahashnia Amar, regarding the second half, he says, "Uvisimchas lo yisarav zar, kolomar lo yarbe behamayos ad sheyedu hazar minyano." So he doesn't. I don't know why you keep on using the word hamaya, which is like shouting or yelling. He shouldn't like be excessive in his yelling about his like wealth and his happiness. To the point where strangers know about it. Kibrov yedias hadavar v'his parsimo, because by like publicizing the knowledge of this, sibos hanezek mitzuyos bo. Ein hara, right? It's gonna. That was exactly what I was thinking. You're gonna cause a lot of harm. Amram zal ina bracha mitzuya ela b'davar hasamui min ha'ayin. Bracha is only found by something that is hidden from the eye. L'chein amru razal li'ol inish. A person should, who's in a chivya, a snake? A person should let a snake come into his house and not a person.
What?
Footnote, Devarim Rabba Parshas Vayskana. I assume what that means is like, because a snake is like some sort of like, hidden source of harm, that like strikes you, but you shouldn't let people see like your full wealth. Because that's dangerous. Should not let people see your full wealth.
Isn't that the idea of like iron harm?
Yeah, that's what Ezra just said.
Oh, okay.
And I agree with him.
I was totally like.
Yeah, David.
Okay, so two things about so when you're saying like not being a victim.
Yeah.
I think internally, as you're saying, these students have like that victim complex and things like that. That it is very paralyzing and prevents oneself from actually ever putting themselves forward or getting themselves into a good state because they're always doing that.
Yeah.
I think just Mishlei, that's one. It's always best to not see yourself as a victim, and if you don't do that, you're actually able to go forward and progress. Yeah. So I think that's one, and I also think what Rebbe said about Yosef and with Yosef HaTzadik with saying to the Star Mashkin, like making himself like I put in here all that, and that makes someone very dislikable, and you don't want to help out that person. So I think very much like also if you make yourself and present yourself as being someone, you let everybody know that things are happening to me, no one's going to want to help you. Right. Okay, good. So comment on the first point is that it's not just a victim mentality. I agree with it's a victim mentality, but like what you're doing is you're creating social reinforcement of your victim mentality, and that's super hard to get rid of. Like it's hard enough if you're struggling with self-image privately, like that's very, very hard to get over a bad self-image. But once everyone is looking at you that way and like reflecting it back to you, that's like almost insurmountable. And then regarding your second point of if you make yourself contemptible, then people are not going to want to help you in a certain way. Hold on, I had an idea there. Oh yeah, I was gonna say it is like a self-fulfilling prophecy, in a sense, right? You're setting up the conditions that are going to make the thing you fear come true. Is one of those Mishlei things. Yeah.
I have another slogan for you. On the opposite extreme. Yeah. Like there's a saying called sorry, it's success begets success. Okay. Meaning like if you present yourself as an individual who's like successful in a certain area, people are attracted to that. Yeah. They're going to be you as this guy. So it's the opposite. Like although it's socially true. Right, but this is mitigating that though. Right, saying like if you go over the line in presenting your success, that's going to harm you. No, I know, right. But like in terms of the first half, it's just like so there is a middle ground here, right? There's this interesting thing. There's a middle ground, and the thing that is in common with the middle ground is it does involve not broadcasting your perception of your own state, whether good or bad. Yeah. What are you saying? I'm just gonna say also to Ariel's success begets success. Yeah. That I think people who are in a good position to bring further success are probably people that are more knowledgeable in the area. They're not just like random people that don't know anything. And they'll be able to tell when someone's actually doing something to make themselves successful versus just showing off their wealth. Right. I think those who will further your gang success are those who know your success even when it's quiet. Yeah. And when it's a very showy thing, those people that are going to be jumping on board aren't actually going to be helping. Yeah, right. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot that Mishlei, I'm sure, has to say about that kind of thing of showing off your wealth. Okay, let's look at the Derech Nister. Uvenister kara hamuvuchus vasfekos maras nafsho. Okay, so but I meant to say this for the Metzudas David.
Where's the Metzudas David getting that this is about Torah? Nafsho, right? So he's going with the nafsho point, right? And I'd say for the derech nister, that would be a reason why he uses the word nefesh, right? Because nefesh in the derech nigle is your physical, like biological existence, but then in the derech nister, then it's like your
So he's using the term nafsho to keep it vague.
Like, yes, the deliberate ambiguity,
so, like,
right?
Because my question yesterday was why not just use atzmo?
Right, exactly, yeah, so that answers the question, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's
keeping it vague either way.
Yeah, right. So if you said atzmo, it would rule out these things. Yeah, right. Okay, good. So it's calling confusions, like more nevuchim type confusions, and sveikos and doubts, bitterness of his soul. V'amar shemichuko lihisbonin bahem ba'atzmo ad sheyotziim laor. I feel like Meiri's made this point earlier this year, that I think chuka means it's proper conduct to contemplate these things by himself until he brings them to light. V'chein b'simchaso, same thing in his joys, hu be'es hutza'aso mevuchosav laor, which is when he brings his confusions to light. Lo yifarse masha amad navuchbo. He should not publicize the initial state of confusion that he had. Ulai yachshod yechashed lioso navuch al amunasam. Maybe he will be suspected of being confused in his beliefs. Bioso navuch al tamam al sibas hitztavosam. Because he's confused about their reasons and the causes of their being commanded. So he did give advice about this earlier, which is that if you have doubts about things, you should not broadcast them. And the reason was, we said, I don't remember the pasuk, but I remember the idea was, okay, let's take, I'm just going to use the common case, is let's say you have a high schooler, okay, who is having like doubts and quite philosophical questions, okay, and he immediately just like starts broadcasting them publicly in class, okay. So what happens? He becomes branded as the class kofar, right? And people challenge him, people shun him. He then has to dig in his heels and be like, well, no, I really do have this question. And then it creates all of these unhealthy dynamics which arrest his development in terms of his ability to like pursue a natural course of these things. Okay, but if he deals with them privately, and that does not mean by himself, it can mean like one-on-one with his rebbe or whatever, and goes through these things. So then like it will keep confounding variables from mingling with his pursuit of the truth, like he'll be able to pursue it in a normal way. And then he can emerge with the fruits of his investigation. And like I'll give another analogy. Okay. Can you imagine, because this is not, sorry, it's more of an analogy of what he's saying. Okay. Can you imagine like if Rebbe came to yeshiva one day and like started saying like, guys, like, I don't know if I believe in God anymore. Okay, right? Yeah, right. So can you imagine what it would do to, I mean, I guess this is not an example of what I just said. This is a separate thing, that would be bad. Okay, right? So now maybe he has had questions, who knows, but he presents the truths and the fruits of his investigation after he's come out of those things, not presenting them in a way that makes people suspect of like his ideas and his stuff there. So I think this has different application if you're more on the Talmud side or more on the Rebbe side. As a Talmud, the main concern is it's going to stunt your development. As the Rebbe, or as someone who you have to worry about your reputation, Yechashed, which could even be a Talmud, but I think more so someone who's public, then you have to worry about how people are going to view you for the other reasons. Okay, let's read the next one. Yodea inyan krisa. Yodea means to cut off. Miloshin viodea behem. Umaras inyan mered, and maras means rebellion, like Ben Sor umore or Hilchos Mamrim is more. Yeah, but I'm trying to do it without the dalid. Miloshin Shimuna Hamorim Hazeh, right? Moshe Rabbeinu rebukes them for being rebels. Loshan Vatina Moras Ruach. Okay. Vim Ula Inenu Misharasha. Okay, maybe it's not the Sharash. Okay, Vav Shabamilasa Uvasim Chaso. Yesera Kivav Biom Hashalishi Vayisa Avraham Es Einav. So it's an extra Vav. Right, the idea. Okay, that's just how we got there. A heart that subdues what his soul is rebellious in. That's someone who is drawn to physicality excessively. And he subdues it until he restores it to the proper measure. He will reach a perfection that no stranger will mingle in. That's perfection of the intellect. Asher hu lo levado, which belongs to him alone, and it doesn't belong to strangers with him. Okay, yeah, you know what? Okay, I don't have time. I actually have to be back soon, and I feel like reading the rest of this and working it out is going to take too long. So I apologize, but we'll be content with what we have. So just to some, I can't give shiur tomorrow. Summary of what we have here. So we have Isaac's idea of it's saying a false idea, thinking that people just, all the emotions that they have, they feel, and everything they're not feeling is not an emotion. Kamash Malan, there's the unconscious, and you need to be aware of that. Then there was the idea of the Metzudas David, which we said that there's two rewards for learning. There's the reward of the ideas, which you can share with people, and you should share with people. And then there's an aspect of reward for the amal and the pain involved in your relationship with learning that is uniquely yours because it comes from your unique circumstances. And the practical application is you should lean into that. Like, you shouldn't let that deject you from learning. You should view it as an opportunity for additional reward, and like strive for that and know that you're going to get all of this reward to yourself because it's uniquely yours, your own challenges. And then there's the first idea of the Meiri, which is about someone who broadcasts their bad state or broadcasts their good state is going to attract more sorrows either way, either sorrows of people viewing him as a loser and all of the unhealthy reinforcement that has, or sorrows of ayin hara and people stealing his wealth or like trying to mooch off of him or being jealous of him or whatever. And then there's this first idea of the broadcasting the bitterness of your nafsho hasichlius. You should not do that. You should deal with that on your own or in private at least, and not like let that stunt your development or your reputation. Okay, good. All right, we got chidushim. Nice. Again, there's even more. We only got through a couple of mafarshim. Very good. Nice. Okay, yeah, my pleasure. All right, see ya.